Thank you very much for inviting us to present as part of your symposium on arts and culture. You're going to hear a little bit from me via this Touchcast, and then Sophie's going to take over in person, and I'm sorry I couldn't be with you as I'm in Portugal on holiday. Today we're particularly interested in the role of art and sport in contributing to cultural diplomacy, soft power change and helping to lead to peace and stability. We've worked on a range of projects and proposals that involve sport and the arts in contributing to societal change, but we're going to talk to you about our latest project that was for the British Council that looks at the contribution of art and culture to global security and stability. We've also added in some sport examples for this presentation because we mapped some of them in the process of the project that we did, but also from our wider experience as well. Okay, the study itself was we conducted a review literature of the academic and grey literature. We conducted elite interviews with in-country officers and that were working on the project from NGOs and civil society organisations and members of the British Council. We mapped 58 projects in arts and sports across the globe, mostly concentrating on our case study areas of Syria, Colombia and Rwanda, but where we had other examples we used those too. What we're particularly interested in part of this work and our other studies is the role that art and culture can be used as a tool for cultural diplomacy and soft power change. And often we see examples from sport such as the power of the Olympics or the World Cup, and soft power change is evident through the use of what we call key influencers and the ability to put pressure on political leaders in a soft way to create social or societal change. We'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. And hopefully some of the work that will come out today, and you will see from our conclusions, is that art and sport can contribute to global security and stability, although it tends to be more about building the symbolic skills such as confidence, resilience, trust and understanding, and then we reach the employment skills such as the creative, the production and the coaching skills. This image, as you can see, from sports diplomacy was in North and South Korea, the latest games, working together, and that's a big step forward. And I'm sure some of you will talk more about that today as well, as to how we actually use sport to bring nations together. It's increasingly recognised that contemporary conflict stems from culture rather than resource-based disagreements, and we can see that from the work of Pries and Mustaf and Nadia and Silverman, that this work is saying, and that's quite controversial because it's saying, oh, well, I thought culture was the way to solve everything. Well, maybe part of it, but it's also part of the problem. There's a particular risk that where young adults in fragile states are unable to gain qualifications or skills and employment opportunities that enable them to advance into adulthood, and instead they have to endure this liminal state of what we call, or what's being called, waithood. And this is in these post-conflict relations can happen, and we're seeing that NGOs and civil society organisations are working together to try to ensure stability. The literature reveals issues such as political underrepresentation, endemic corruption, and government illegitimacy and discrimination can often lead to an increase in attractiveness of extremism. What's happening then is what we're seeing, through things like art diplomacy and education, is that some groups are offering culture, sport, education, arts, particularly in rural areas where there are no opportunities, as a way of recruiting disaffected, educated young people. In Pakistan, for example, there's a rise of what's been termed the brightest and the best being recruited that are angry at the West. So this goes against the idea that what we're seeing is people joining extremist groups because they have no money. In actual fact, it's not that at all. So the mechanisms through which art and culture interventions have delivered change, then we're having to look at that. But these are coming up as numerous different ways that we can use that. Some of that is about building confidence in young people, resilience and understanding of where the conflict arises from. But the important part is that the planned interventions, they're mostly in small projects and community-based projects, and always have people from local leaders from the community or NGOs and civil society organisations, but usually, for example, in Rwanda as well, they have state involvement. And the importance of the state is that you have to actually work with the state as well, because some of the time they're providing the funding. So it's not enough to just say we'll work with others. It's also, some of our work has also looked at ensuring that we don't just take a neoliberal approach to flying in Westerners to teach people how to do things or how to evaluate and monitor their projects and show impact. In fact, this was met with some disdain from some of the people that we interviewed, saying this is nothing short of going back to our model of colonialism, and the West are not here to save you. In actual fact, many of these people have solved the problems themselves, or can understand how better to use art and culture and sport as a way of creating community cohesion and lasting benefits. What they can't always do is demonstrate impact or demonstrate how they can evaluate and monitor a programme. And some of that they've come back to us and said, that's what we'd like help with, but not on an imposed basis, but actually help to form the evaluation tools. We'd actually need funding to show us how to do that and maintain it. And we'd actually need the policymakers in different countries to receive training to understand how you would use art and sport as a way of public policy. All of the projects that we looked at, of the 58 that are mapped and that Sophie will talk to you a little bit about, they talked about increasing symbolic skills, the confidence, resilience, the mutual trust, all of these things time and time again. They didn't always say this will lead to global security and stability. Some of them did. In particular, so the Football for Peace, for example, did have goals that was about maintaining peace, post-conflict, etc. But they didn't always have that explicit goal. But when we dug down into it, that was a more implicit goal. I'm going to hand over to Sophie now, and she's going to talk to you about the case studies and some of the interventions that we made, and some of the interventions that were made, and how this changed people's lives in the community and what they've gone on to do since, as some of the key examples. Okay, thank you very much.